You're listening to the Pace Radio Network here at paceradio.net.
The views expressed by the individuals during this broadcast are their own opinions, and they may not be the same as those of their group or other organizations they may be involved with.
All medical advice during our broadcast is not a medical opinion and should be checked with your medical physician.
Oh yeah, baby, that's lovely.
Good morning, it's March the 16th, and welcome to Psychedelics and Cannabis Educational News. We're live here at paceradio.net, 420pace.ca, and looks like Rev Cindy is a little heated up this morning. She's got the fans on. Is it the stories we got that's got you?
It's my age. It's called menopause.
Oh, yes. Yeah, I remember the times of doing events and stuff, going up and down the highway, and the ladies opening the window in the middle of the winter time. Yeah.
Yep. Yeah, I'm one of those now.
And it happens. It happens, right?
It does.
It happens to all of you. So, so what's new and exciting otherwise?
What's new and exciting otherwise? Well, I'm planning more education. I guess that's exciting for me.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
Yep.
Going out and educating people, it can always be exciting.
It is.
Yeah. Which I'm going to be doing that in early May. I'm going to go speak to a group of people at a group that are retired professionals, like they're lawyers, doctors, stuff along that
Amazing.
line.
Are you going to record that for us?
I'm going to try to do that. Yes. See what I can do.
I think that would be amazing because we've had my speech on the network, and I think it'd be really cool to have our network owners' speech on the network as well.
That'd be interesting. Yeah, I gotta see if I can do it. Like, there's no problem with the tripod and camera. It's just making sure I can get a mic that's going to do the trick. So.
Oh, listen, I know the gear you have. You've got all the tricks. Don't worry about it. You'll be fine.
I know. I'll give it a try. So, and I look forward to it as well.
Yeah.
All right. Shall we get started?
Yeah, we should. I'm kind of excited about this first story.
Yeah. The same with our first couple stories are updates, and I know that the one I'm going to start off with, it lit some fire under some people. So you'll get to that in a minute or two. All right.
We will. Yeah. Our first story today is coming to us from the CBC News here in Nova Scotia. Member 2 First Nation defends sovereignty over cannabis and tobacco sales. A First Nation in Atlantic Canada is drawing a firm line over who controls commerce on its territory, and the debate is raising larger questions about Indigenous sovereignty, economic self-determination, and cannabis regulation here in Canada. Leaders of the Member 2 First Nation in Nova Scotia have told the provincial government and the Royal Canadian Mounted Police, commonly known as the RCMP, to stay out of cannabis and tobacco sales taking place on their land. The dispute centers on businesses operating within the Member 2 community that sell tobacco and cannabis products outside of the province's regulated retail framework. Provincial authorities have argued these stores may violate provincial law, but Member 2 leadership say the issue is about jurisdiction and about the inherent rights of Indigenous nations to govern economic activity on their own territory. Member 2 Chief Terry Paul emphasized that the community has successfully built a thriving economic model over the past few decades, developing businesses, tourism infrastructure, and you can do that here in Nova Scotia, in Cape Breton. You can go on a McMoggy tourism. It's really amazing. I can't wait to do it myself. And commercial enterprises that support local prosperity. Community leaders argue that decisions about commerce within the territory should be made by the nation itself, not imposed by provincial regulators. The situation reflects a wider conversation happening across Canada. Boy, howdy, is it ever. Many Indigenous communities have developed their own cannabis policies since legalization in 2018, asserting that federal and provincial frameworks do not automatically override Indigenous governance rights. Supporters of Member Two's position say Indigenous nations should have the authority to regulate and benefit from cannabis commerce within their territories. Critics, however, argue that regulatory consistency is necessary for consumer safety and taxation. For Member Two, the issue is about more than retail sales. It's about sovereignty and economic independence. As Chief Paul and other leaders have made clear, the community intends to defend its rights to determine how businesses operate on its land. And the outcome of this debate could influence how Indigenous jurisdiction over cannabis is interpreted across this whole nation of Canada in the years ahead. And I don't know about you, Al, but I am so excited to see this all come to fruition.
Oh yeah, it's gonna be a battle for sure. I see in the report they say that the province claims that this has already been settled in the courts when it comes to the treaty rights. And obviously, the Mi'kmaq don't agree with that.
No, the Mi'kmaq don't. After having 5 of their businesses raided on reserve land, it was the push that they needed to move forward with what they're doing. And one of the things that they are doing here is the chiefs across Mi'kmaq land here in Nova Scotia have banded together and have created a board, for lack of a better word, that coming to my brain, that are making decisions on the businesses specifically about cannabis and tobacco on reserve land. And then I know other Indigenous places in northern BC that are, of course, fighting with land back, and they're not stopping at letting us do our businesses, or let us do our businesses on our land our way. They're insistent that Turtle Island, being all of North America, is their land, and they are working hard to take land back. And I think that this is going to be a huge step in Indigenous rights, in reserve rights, and I can't wait to see it come to fruition, and I can't wait to see them win, because they will win eventually.
It says here that in a court case, they suspect the province will argue that the right does not extend to products like cannabis because they weren't sold at that time.
Under the Canadian legal aspect, you're right. But cannabis is cannabis and sweetgrass and sage, and all of these beautiful herbs are things that Indigenous have been working with for millennia. So good luck.
Yeah, exactly, Buddy Weeds. Exactly. He says if Nova Scotia wanted to control cannabis on Indigenous land, they should have consulted with them at the time of legalization. Yeah, exactly. And good morning to you as well, buddy. As well. All right. It's just we'll have to keep an eye on that. And as people have noticed, we've been running it first story of the day when it comes to this, to make sure that everybody's up to date, and to help us inform other people about this. Share the news, because Facebook doesn't recommend our pages anymore. So share. That's right. Okay, from there we're moving on. Oh, Buddy's got a comment there. He says it's a sad overreach of government powers.
It is.
Yeah. All right. On to the next story. Here we go. This one is coming to me from StratCan. It says there in the headline that the AGCO reverses policing of the word dispensary. Now says stores can use the term outside of medical context. We ran this story the other day on Thursday, and I can tell you that the short that we put out, it lit on fire. Hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of people were looking at that, and people were just like, what the hell is going on? So this is already a follow-up to that story from Thursday. And here we go. Following a recent enforcement push, the Alcohol and Gaming Commission of Ontario now says it will no longer prevent cannabis retailers from using the term dispensary in their business descriptions as long as it does not inherently imply medical advice or a medical context. Ontario's cannabis regulator sent out a memo to stakeholders back on March the 13th, informing them of the policy shift following an outcry from some retailers over recent weeks, as covered by Stratcan. Now, the AGCO had previously informed the cannabis retailers in Ontario that they had to remove any use of the word dispensary from their websites and online storefronts, even back-end metadata, leading some retailers to undertake a complicated process of editing their websites. It now clarifies that while cannabis retailers must continue to comply with all other applicable requirements under the AGCO's register standards, including ensuring that retail operations do not present themselves as medical providers or offer medical advice. This will not include the use of the term dispensary when used outside of a medical context. While the word dispensary has traditionally referred broadly to a place where medicine is dispensed, similar to a pharmacy, cannabis retailers in the province argued the term has become synonymous with cannabis stores in the average consumer's mind in recent decades, particularly with the rise of cannabis stores in Canada and the US. Now, such enforcement actions, they argue, only serve to hand customers back to the illicit market without actually protecting the public. While the AGCO initially rejected this concern, the agency has now acknowledged that the language evolves and terms acquire new meanings over time. So they say, to that end, we can agree that the term dispensary on its own does not inherently imply medical advice or a medical context, reads the memo. So as such, the AGCO will not be asking you to remove the terms dispensary or dispensaries from your forms of identification, advertising, or promotions, so long as they continue to meet the standards in all other aspects. Now, in response to a request for comment from Stratcan, an AGCO media representative stated that the agency is focused on supporting a safe, responsible, and sustainable cannabis marketplace. They say to remain an effective regulator, we are committed to always working closely with consumers, licensed operators, and other experts to ensure our regulatory approach evolves alongside the industry and the communities we serve. We will continue to listen to stakeholders and adapt our approach as the sector grows and new issues emerge, ensuring regulations remain effective, practical, and aligned with public safety concerns. Well, Cindy, that didn't last very long, did it?
No, not at all.
Everybody's going like, what? Like, I was talking with people afterwards, and they were saying the same thing. And I said, when was the last time that a doctor gave you a prescription and said, hey, take this to the dispensary? They say, take it to the pharmacy. Mm-hmm. I've never been told to get to the dispensary.
Nope.
Yeah, I have to agree with Buddy here. He says, yes, some common sense, exactly. And it was a surprise, especially coming from Ontario. Yeah, it's good to see that they reversed that. Now, there was a quote from one of the people who had
Owen Allerton.
Yes.
He said it's excellent to see the government making a rational decision here. It's definitely the best thing for the industry to be able to compete with the illicit market, calling it an amazing win, and saying how grateful that he is that they have changed their position and are allowing us all to use the term that customers are using to search for us.
There you go. Common sense, just like Buddy says. It's it was just, I couldn't believe it how quickly the numbers just flew up on our YouTube post of that story.
Yep.
And people were paying attention. So hopefully they'll see the change.
Yep. Fingers
All right.
crossed.
On to the next
All
one.
right. On to the next story, coming to us from the Ounce. Now, this is coming to us actually from Newfoundland. Cannabis sales rise in Newfoundland, but government revenue falls. Isn't that interesting? Cannabis sales are climbing in Atlantic Canada, but surprisingly, government revenues aren't keeping pace. According to a new report highlighted by the Ounce, legal cannabis sales in Newfoundland and Labrador have increased significantly over the past year. More consumers are purchasing products through the legal retailers, and overall market activity continues to grow. However, despite the rise in sales volume, the province's revenue from cannabis is actually declining. The reason largely comes down to pricing pressure. As the legal cannabis industry matures, competition between producers have driven wholesale prices downward. While lower prices can help attract consumers away from the illicit market, it also means the governments collect less tax revenue per product sold. Another factor is the evolving retail landscape. With more stores opening and more product variety available, companies are increasingly competing on price and promotions, squeezing margins throughout the supply chain. Industry analysts say this trend isn't unique to Newfoundland and Labrador. Across Canada, cannabis markets are moving into a new phase where growth is driven less by high prices and novelty and more by efficiency, competition, and consumer loyalty. For government that initially projected strong tax revenue from legalization, the numbers are now forcing a reality check. Legal cannabis may still be growing as an industry, but the financial windfall some policymakers once expected is proving harder to achieve. This makes sense to me, Al. I shop both in the legal and in the legacy Indigenous market. And one of the things I've noticed over the past, I'd say 12 to 18 months, is that the prices on the legal side are coming down. An ounce that I used to pay $170 for in the market is now down to about $150. I mean, that's a big $20 difference. And when you take that over hundreds of ounces, that's a huge downfall.
Well, if you go through an ounce a week, you're looking at an $80 a month savings.
But that's an $80 a month that they're not getting from one person.
Yeah.
Correct. And the company I'm thinking of is actually a Nova Scotia company, and I've been watching their prices drop a little bit. They grow amazing cannabis, truly amazing, burns clean. They grow it aquaponically. There's no chemicals. It's beautiful cannabis. But their prices have gone down just to compete with the lower end pricing, and it's the only way that they can stay in business.
I'm just basically a cart purchaser, and I haven't really noticed it there. I'm not buying any herbs, so I don't know to be able to let you know what we're seeing at this end of the woods.
The prices are dropping out in Ontario too, because when I was out in Ontario, I bought I don't even know if I have any here. I do. I bought some hash wrap joints when I was there. And in my research and looking for them, Ontario is so different than Nova Scotia, of course, because everything's by government here. Everything's in the Nova Scotia liquor store, and everything is uniform from, literally the northern tip to the southern tip. But when I was in Toronto and went searching for these joints within like a 2-block system, this joint went from anywhere between $17 to $29.99.
Wow, that's a big difference. $12.
Over $10 difference from like literally within 2 blocks.
Wow. Either someone's making a lot of money or someone's not making any money.
Yeah, well, I went and bought a few from the gentleman who had them for the $17. Rosebud Cannabis, by the way. Amazing dude, amazing dispensary. You feel like you're walking into Legacy straight up. It's amazing. And he gives he gives better prices on purpose to draw people in, is what he said. He doesn't believe that he should be making a fortune on other people's needs.
Yeah, good. All righty. moving on to our next story. You know, we've been talking about squamating, CHS. You know, what's the cause of this? You know, they can't nail it down exactly where this is coming from. But hey, we got something new to add to the mix, and here we go with our next story. This one comes to us from greenstate.com. It says, new study links cannabis vaping to controversial vomiting syndrome. That's right. Something else to add to the list. A new study by California researchers is raising concerns of a possible link between cannabis vaping and a rare disorder called cannabinoid hyperemesis syndrome, or CHS, that can leave users violently vomiting for days. The researchers found that people who use electronic vape cartridges develop CHS much faster than people who smoked cannabis or used edibles. Now, Megan Midqua, one of the study's authors, called the findings combined with increasing vape usage a massive public health concern. Now, according to our recent study findings, those who used vapes alone are hitting it more often throughout the day and developing CHS symptoms sooner than those who smoke by years. And years is in bold letters. Now, she goes on to say, well, this is what she says in the LinkedIn post, but the study published last week in Cannabis and Cannabinoid Research was based on more than 1,130 responses to a digital survey sent to people who said they experienced CHS. It did not prove any causal mechanism between vaping and developing CHS, but found a strong statistically significant association showing vape cartridge users were more likely to develop CHS sooner compared to smokers and use higher levels of cannabis. Now, Cody Peterson, the study's lead author and an associate professor of pharmaceutical science at UC Irvine, cautioned that the results do not prove vaping cannabis is more dangerous than smoking. He says, this is just an association that we saw. We certainly can't say anything definitive. Now, and he also says that it's just something we noticed, that people who exclusively vaped develop CHS in a shorter timeline. Now, he also goes on to say that the study's strong association between heavy daily use of cannabis, including THC-rich vape cartridges, provides strong evidence that THC itself is causing CHS. Some of the survey respondents were using cannabis for as long as a decade before developing the syndrome, and the survey found that 96% of people who used cannabis products at least daily before they developed CHS, with nearly half saying they use cannabis 6 or more times a day. Peterson says that CHS is likely caused by changes to our body's endocannabinoid system, a complex neurological network, and that can result in someone developing a condition even after safely consuming cannabis for years. Many cannabis users, though, deny that THC could be causing the nausea and instead blame the vomiting on cannabis that is contaminated with pesticides or other toxins. Further complicating the issue is that some cannabis products have been shown to be helpful with treating nausea, making the development of CHS seem paradoxical to some people. Well, Cindy, here we go. It's the vapes. He even says in there that it's the cannabinoid system is messed up now because of them.
They're trying really, really hard. One of the things that they said in here, Peterson, he says, if it's just tainted weed, then everybody who bought from that one dealer or that store would get sick, yet only some people are getting sick. We all have different immune systems, Mr. Peterson. Some of us have an immune system that can take those pesticides and we can filter them using our kidneys and our liver, and we can get them out and we don't get sick. Some of us aren't that lucky. And some of us, some people may go and they may smoke a joint a week. Therefore, the pesticides aren't going to affect them like somebody who smokes 2 joints a day. There's so much more about it. And when you talk about the fact that it's happening with vape cartridges, many, many, many vape cartridges out there have things like PG and VG. These things will make you sick. They add in extra terpenes. People can have allergies to them. If you left it just as live resin, just as like this is the pure live resin or rosin that's coming from the plant, there's no chemicals, there's no pesticides. You watch how many people don't get sick.
Yeah, well, Buddy's with a lot of other people. He agrees that he says he believes that it's condensed pesticides causing it. He says there are over 100 approved pesticides, and smoking them are completely different. And here in Canada, over 100. There are over 100 pesticides that are approved for use.
Yep.
And I know down in the U.S. there's been arguments over pesticides as well.
Yep. Hey, JJ, thanks for the love emoji. I love you too.
Thanks, JJ. All righty. Well, it's time for you and me to take a break. It's that time. We're halfway through the show. We got half the stories done. When we get back, we're going to learn a little bit more about CBD and CBG. We're going to go to some courts. We're going to hear about some girl guides as well. Some entrepreneurs. There's no doubt about that. All right, you're watching Psychedelics and Cannabis Educational News, and we will be back in 3 minutes.
You're listening to the Pace Radio Network here at paceradio.net.
Campbellford Lifestyle Shop, open Monday to Friday from 10 till 7 p.m. or by chance. Check out our flags, our t-shirts, plus our hats, and look of that supply of rolling papers, plus much more. We've got bongs and your favorite herbal vaporizers. Look at all the incense we have, as well as for those who collect knives, check out these knives in our collection. And while you're here, stop in to see Shay at the piercing room, where you can get poked by Shay. Daily deals, check them out. Campbellford Lifestyle Shop, 17 Bridge Street West, Campbellford, Ontario. Limestone City Hydroponics is Kingston, Ontario's hydroponics shop. Take your growing to the next level and create the optimal environment with a tent kit, or maximize your yield with an ebb and flow flood table kit. Either way, Limestone City Hydroponics has more sizes and options to fit your needs. Are you looking for the power of the sun that adapts to your budget? Then look no further, as they have professional grow lighting. They have indoor grow systems that are easy and cost effective, with many options to fit your living space and lifestyle. Cultivate your growing potential. We have everything you need to succeed. And if you can't make it to the store, they offer local delivery to the greater Kingston area. Remember, when you're looking for experts to help you grow, then look no further than the locally owned Limestone City Hydroponics, 105 Sunderland Drive in Kingston, Ontario. Call them at 613-548-0420. Rerolled Saturdays. Check it out. Nothing but non-stop cannabis and psychedelic programming. Find it at 420pace.ca.
You're listening to the Pace Radio Network here at paceradio.net.
And you're watching Psychedelics and Cannabis Educational News. What do we got for education? We got some education coming up for our next story, don't we?
We do.
We do. And you notice during the first part of the show, I mentioned about sharing our broadcasts, and that's because Facebook says that we are bad people, that we don't meet the community standards. And what are we doing? We're sharing the news.
Yeah. I think the first story came to us from mainstream media.
Yeah, exactly. You know, so I don't know. It makes sense. So share us, help spread the news, and talking about news, let's get at her.
Yeah. On to the next story. It's coming to us from Leafy. CBD and CBG show promise for fatty liver disease. New research suggests that two lesser-known cannabis compounds could play a role in treating one of the world's most common metabolic diseases. A study highlighted by Leafy examined the effects of CBD and CBG on non-alcoholic fatty liver disease, a condition affecting millions of people worldwide. The disease occurs when excess fat builds up in the liver, potentially leading to inflammation, fibrosis, and serious liver damage. Researchers found that both cannabinoids appeared to reduce markers associated with inflammation and metabolic dysfunction in experimental models. CBD has already been widely studied for its anti-inflammatory properties. CBG, sometimes called the mother cannabinoid, is attracting increasing scientific attention for its potential therapeutic benefits. Scientists believe cannabinoids may interact with the body's endocannabinoid system, of course, a network of receptors involved in regulating metabolism, inflammation, and cellular balance. By influencing these pathways, CBD and CBG may help improve liver health and reduce disease progression. While the findings are still early and more human clinical trials are needed, as always, the research highlights the growing interest in cannabinoids beyond THC. As scientists continue exploring the medicinal chemistry of the cannabis plant, compounds like CBD and CBG may eventually become part of new treatments for metabolic and inflammatory diseases. And I think that is way behind schedule, straight up. I use CBD on a daily for inflammation, and it so helps. What about you, Al?
I have CBD plants that I grow, and in order to take as capsules, or if I want, I can smoke them as well. And I've even pressed some and turned it into some rosin.
I've got CBD concentrates here somewhere that I dab up. They're great.
Yeah, they work for a lot of people. It's too bad that our government decided not to expand them into storefronts, as far as pharmacies, health food stores, and stuff like that. So.
Absolutely.
And this is great. It says that CBD and CBG have been found to improve blood sugar control as well.
Yes. Yeah, it's like we look at cannabis, and if they hadn't have had prohibition back in 1923, we were using it. We being humans, were using it as medicine way back then, in cough medicine, pain medicine. Oh, this is your daytime stuff with cannabis sativa. This is your nighttime stuff with cannabis indica, and they were using it in ways. And back then they weren't using heavy duty THC plants. Like, it was mostly hemp style plants back in 1923. So not a lot of people were getting crazy high. It wasn't all about THC. But then, of course, when they criminalized it, that's what they focused on.
It's nasty stuff, that cannabis.
Oh, that THC cannabis. Ooh, it's so bad. And, and that brought all of our attention to that. And of course, there's just so much more to the plant, and it's not all about getting high. We've talked about it on many shows, how we've, utilized the fan leaves for something, or the roots for something else, or the stalks.
Yeah, I've even made oils, TCA oil, not even decarboxylated the cannabis, because it's that way as well.
I know a few people that do that, because they don't activate the THC, but if you take it, you still get the benefits without getting super high, which allows somebody who needs to take cannabis to fight cancer to be able to take a full gram a day versus taking, such a little bit. Like you get less high, so therefore they can take more and fight their cancers or fight their Alzheimer's or fight their Parkinson's without being stupid high.
And Buddy has a few words as well.
We love you, Buddy. Thank you so much.
Yeah. All righty. From there, we'll move on to our next story. And this one is coming to us from normal.org. And the headline says, Federal Appeals Court, workers' compensation plans can't reimburse patients for medical cannabis costs because it's a Schedule 1. A permanently disabled marine employee cannot, or maritime employee cannot be reimbursed for costs related to his use of medical cannabis products, according to a ruling by judges on the Second Court of Appeals. The petition, or the petitioner, who possessed a valid recommendation to access medical cannabis under Puerto Rican law, sought reimbursement from both his former employees, insurance carrier, as well as from the federal government, pursuant to Section 7 of the Longshore and Harbors Workers' Compensation Act, a federal law providing no-fault medical and wage replacement benefits to maritime employees injured or disabled as U.S. navigable waters or adjoining areas. Now, the appellant court rejected the petitioner's request because federal law currently defines cannabis as a substance with no accepted medical use. Okay. They decided marijuana's reclassification as a Schedule 1 substance under the CSA unequivocally provides, for purposes of federal law, that it has no accepted medical use. It may very well be the case that the federal government will at some point, perhaps even in the near future, remove cannabis from Schedule 1 of the CSA. But that is a decision for the political branches of the federal government, not for the judiciary. This court is obligated to apply the law as it currently stands. Now, several state courts have previously weighed in on matters surrounding whether employees can be compensated for the use of medical cannabis. For example, courts in New Hampshire, New Jersey, and Pennsylvania have ruled in favor of employees' compensation rights, while courts in Massachusetts and Minnesota have ruled against them. Now, writing in the 2023 op-ed, Normal's Deputy Director Paul Armato says, most patients, most physicians, and most state laws view cannabis as a legitimate therapeutic option. Therefore, the millions of Americans who rely upon medical cannabis products ought to be afforded the same entitlements as those who use other conventional medications and therapies. Those privileges should include insurance provided in reimbursement for medical cannabis treatments. And I have to agree with Mr. Armaretto and Normal on that.
100%.
Yeah.
100%. Yeah.
Yeah.
Here in Canada, I don't know what the laws are now. The last time I had to fight for them, I had some work insurance that gave me $300 a year that I could use for medical purposes. And where medical cannabis was legal here in Canada, I was allowed to claim some of that. I mean, mind you, $300 isn't even a month worth of medicine, but
no,
it is what it is. And then I know that there was somebody here in Canada fighting for workers' comp coverage, and I'm not sure whatever happened to that.
Yeah. I know that Sun Life has covered some people. There are some insurance companies that will. As you mentioned, there's a cap. The one I know of I'm aware of is $2,500 a year.
The 300 was before legalization, actually.
Well, $300 a month. Well, yeah, you're a little more.
$300 a year before legalization.
Yeah. So there is some coverage out there. But yeah, you gotta look for it. And as far as your work at work, if your work has got some type of insurance policy that you're on, you can check there to see if there's any hope of coverage. I would think that any company who would get that on their plan would probably see an increase in what they're paying for it as well. So
Yep. Oh yeah.
yeah, it's so dangerous. All righty. Let's hear about these girls and their
Yes, I giggled when I saw this. This isn't the first time this kind of stuff has happened, but I really love that they put this story together. So let's see what they have to say. So this one is coming to us from Mugglehead Magazine. Girl Scout cookies sales spark cannabis culture debate. This is a lighter story that's stirring debate online. In New Jersey, a group of young members of the Girl Scouts of the USA attracted criticism over setting up a cookie sales table outside a legal cannabis dispensary. I commend those girls on their brilliant business thinking. Perfect place to go set up. Photos of the stand quickly spread across social media, with some people joking that the Scouts were cleverly targeting customers experiencing the classic cannabis munchies. Others, however, argued that selling cookies outside a dispensary raised questions about whether children should be involved in fundraising near adult use cannabis businesses. As Al and I were discussing earlier, they set outside the liquor stores all the time here in Canada. Supporters of these Scouts pointed out that the cookie sales often take place outside grocery stores, community events, and other high traffic locations. In this case, the dispensary owner had reportedly invited the group to set up there as a way to support their fundraising efforts. Good on the dispensary owner. Critics, meanwhile, said the situation highlighted the complicated cultural space cannabis now occupies. Legal and normalized in many places, but still controversial when it intersects with youth organizations. Despite the debate, many observers treated the story with humor, noting that the combination of cookies and cannabis culture was almost too predictable. Regardless of where people land on the issue, this viral moment shows just how much cannabis has entered mainstream culture, sometimes in unexpected ways. And Al, it shows the brilliance of these young ladies in picking the perfect place to go sell cookies.
Exactly. Yeah. As you said, it's happened before.
Yes.
They can stand out here in Ontario. They can stand out in front of a liquor store or beer stores, sell their stuff.
Same here in Nova Scotia.
Yeah. Now the Scouts, the Girl Scouts down there say that the leaders says that Girl Scouts can set up booths outside of businesses that they would be able to enter or purchase something from. As you know, here in Ontario or Canada, minors cannot go into a cannabis store, but they go into liquor stores all the time with their parents.
Yep. Here in Nova Scotia, all but one of our cannabis stores are in the backs of liquor stores. So if I go into a liquor store, I can take, one of my friends' minor kids or my grandchildren. We can walk around the liquor store if we want. But if I wanted to go into what I call lovingly referred to as the cannabis closets, I have to leave the kids outside of the cannabis closet, standing in the liquor store by themselves.
That's so much safer than taking them in so they could see a picture of a leaf.
Yep. Yeah. And
what other plant?
Yeah.
What's that?
Here in Nova Scotia, the liquor store is everything. You can walk around, you can see it, you can smell it, you can touch it. In our cannabis closets, everything is in a drawer. They don't have anything out here in Nova Scotia. So what are you seeing? You're seeing some pictures, you're seeing some packages, and that's it. Behind glass.
Yeah. It's just not. It's a legal store. It's a cannabis store. What other plant? A picture of a plant is forbidden for youths to see. I can't think of another plant that the government's forbid minors from seeing in a picture.
Yeah.
Now, Buddy Weeds, he's chiming in here. He says that we've known were known for getting the munchies, and he agrees. Good on them.
Yep.
And he makes this other point. He says, "Don't forget about the cultivator, the cultivar, Girl Scout cookies."
Yes.
That's right. Exactly. It is there. That's I would imagine each state would have different laws, regulations on that, just like we do here, as far as the minors entering different stores. But it's just a leaf, right? So harmful. Ooh. All right, time for us to go on to the last story of the day, this is I had a bit of a chuckle when I first saw this, so we'll get into it and we'll talk about it afterwards. And here we go. This one's coming to us from Marijuana Moment, and the headline on it says, "Feds deny Snoop Dogg request to trademark smoke weed every day because marijuana is illegal and a song lyric is too popular." Yes, cannabis is illegal and just the saying is too popular. This thing. Here we go. Snoop Dogg's signature catchphrase, "Smoke weed every day," cannot be trademarked by the artist because cannabis remains federally illegal and the slogan has become too popular in mainstream culture, the U.S. Patent and Trademark Office says. Now, Dr. E.T.C. Holco LLC, an entity affiliated with Snoop that owns his intellectual property portfolio, submitted a trademark application for the phrase in 2024. Then, nearly 2 years later, received a denial letter from the USPTO on Tuesday. Now, the federal agency, which falls under the U.S. Department of Commerce, gave two reasons for the rejection. Number one, goods and services marketed under a trademark must comply with federal law, and the application includes items or activities that involves per se violation of federal law. And number two, the phrase comes from a long lyric commonly used in association with cannabis use, making it too popular to exclusively trademark. Now they go on to say, to qualify for federal registration, the use of a trademark in commerce must be lawful under federal law in the sense that the commerce recited in the application complies with applicable federal laws that regulate the identified goods and services. Goes on to say that if the goods or services, which is a mark, is intended to be used or prohibited by law, the applicant can neither use its mark for lawful commerce nor have the requisite bona fide intent to use the mark in lawful commerce. Now, the agency's denial letter additionally said the registration was refused because the applied for mark is a slogan or term that does not function as a trademark or service mark to indicate the source of applicants' goods or services and to identify and distinguish them from others. In this case, the applied for mark is an informal, social, political, religious, or similar kind of message that merely conveys support of, admiration for, or affiliation with the ideas conveyed by the message, it says. Now it goes on to say that terms and phrases that merely convey an informal message are not registratable. To support its case, they provided examples of the phrase "smoke weed every day" appearing on various products sold by retailers such as Amazon, Weed Dreams, and Redbubble. Now, Josh Gerben, an attorney and co-founder of Gerben IP, said in a blog post about the decision and about the denial that Snoop's company may appeal the decision, but the most difficult part of the challenge the case presents is the federal legality issue tied to cannabis sales. I can see that. Now, the application identifies retail services involving cannabis products, he says. And under current federal law, cannabis remains illegal, and the USPTO routinely refuses applications tied to federal unlawful goods or services. I can see that. Now, taken together, the refusals create a steep uphill battle, Gerben says, and unfortunately, or fortunately for Snoop Dogg, this refusal affects only the trademark registration and not the activity the phrase famously celebrates. Now, there you go, Cindy. You can't popular things, you can't put a trademark on them, and especially the illegal.
Yeah.
If somebody, the rescheduling expeditiously that hasn't started, it's been 3 months now. Expeditiously means really quick. Maybe at that point, maybe something might change.
Yeah, maybe.
For them, but they still got the fact that it's a phrase that is commonly used, which would still be a battle even after it was changed, even if cannabis was legal.
Yeah, because he's not the only one that uses it, right? So there are more battles than just the legality here. Although the legality is the biggest battle in there, there are still other battles that he would have to fight.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Oh, for sure. And, it's going to be a while. I see Buddy Weeds has cropped up on our comments about the pictures of plants and being in use, not being allowed to see them. And he says that the poppy is used to support the Legion. And as we know, the poppy is the plant that makes the opioid. Yep. And the opium and all that other stuff. Yep. Good example.
Sure.
Yeah.
You're allowed to grow poppies here in Canada.
Even the red ones?
Oh, I see them all over the place here in Nova Scotia. Yeah, people grow them all the time.
Yeah. The right ones, because there are some poppies that don't. That don't.
Yeah, they've genetically gotten rid of the opium stems that are in them. I honestly haven't paid attention to that. I just see the poppies along certain houses, right? And which I then assume, I look at the house and go, oh, a veteran must live there.
Yeah, and there's other plants too that people can get high on. Morning glories.
Yep.
They don't outlaw
Amanita muscaria. You can get that, and it's legal.
Yeah. So. Yeah. Maybe someday some common sense will come in on that. And yeah. So, okay. Anything else?
I don't think so. Have a great week, folks.
Yeah, exactly. Have a great week. We'll catch up with everybody on Thursday. But other than that, that's it for today. We hope you found it informative and educational. Thanks go out to you guys, everybody, for tuning in and for interacting with us. We don't mind that whatsoever, as you've noticed. And thanks go to our sponsors, Limestone, Hydroponics.ca, the Campbellford Lifestyle Shop, as well as At-Eze.ca. And we'll see you Thursday, as I mentioned. And always, don't forget to educate, medicate, and do not incarcerate.
You're listening to the Pace Radio Network here at paceradio.net.
The opinions of the individuals during this broadcast are their own, and may not be the opinions of their group or other organizations they may be involved with. All medical advice during our broadcast is not a medical opinion and should be checked with your medical physician.
Enjoy the buzz of legalization with Campbellford Lifestyle Shop. From lights to plant nutrients, books, consumption accessories, and more, we've got all your basics to grow or consume cannabis. Visit our info center or take a look at our piercing services and body jewelry, now available in-store through Campbellford Lifestyle Shop, 17 Bridge Street West, Campbellford.
Limestone City Hydroponics is Kingston, Ontario's hydroponics shop. Take your growing to the next level and create the optimal environment with a tent kit, or maximize your yield with an ebb and flow flood table kit. Either way, Limestone City Hydroponics has more sizes and options to fit your needs. Are you looking for the power of the sun that adapts to your budget? Then look no further, as they have professional grow lighting. They have indoor grow systems that are easy and cost effective, with many options to fit your living space and lifestyle. Cultivate your growing potential. We have everything you need to succeed. And if you can't make it to the store, they offer local delivery to the greater Kingston area. Remember, when you're looking for experts to help you grow, then look no further than the locally owned Limestone City Hydroponics, 105 Sunderland Drive in Kingston, Ontario. Call them at 613-548-0420. We are people advocating cannabis education here at paceradio.net.